My thesis is that the invention of the steam engine in England provided a cheaper alternative source of energy and technological advancement that provided manufacturing power that was needed for the Industrial Revolution. Naturally, before answering that question, we must ask first, what was the Industrial Revolution? The Industrial Revolution during the 1800s was characterized by the use of a new energy source, mainly the steam engine, used to replace manpower and mass-produced through factories. The Industrial Revolution began when England started to have a high demand for cotton since the rate of textile production had skyrocketed with the invention of the flying shuttle and the spinning jenny. The growth in the textile industry in England could be easily seen with England having 10,000 cotton spindles, while France had only around 2,500 of them. With a huge demand for cotton which was supplied by the prospering colonial trade that the British Parliament had protected through its Royal Navy and the Navigation Acts, which excludes another nation from Britain's colonial trade, Britain was on the verge of entering the Industrial Revolution. The only component left that was needed to begin the Industrial Revolution was a cheap method of manufacturing. Let's look at our options. Option A, slaves. Wait, what? England had abolished slavery by 1833? Okay. Option A, paid manpower, and option B, the steam engine. Let's examine option A, paid manpower first. At first glance, it would seem obvious to use manpower to power factories, and even more so since during the Industrial Revolution, the Agricultural Revolution was also taking place. The Agricultural Revolution made farming far more effective and required less labor, causing a majority of the population to shift their occupation. During the 1600s, 50% of the population were farmers, but during 1800s, that number dropped to 17%. Determining from that, there should be an abundance of labor in England during that time. But even so, British wages remained high. As Mr. Robert C. Allen wrote, that British workers were among the most highly paid in the world before the Industrial Revolution, and many, but not all, continued to earn high wages as it unfolded. And relatively, that is true. During the 1850s, a building craftsman in London were paid around 29 grams of silver per day, whilst in France they were paid around 16.4 grams a day, and in Italy only around 6 grams. The high wages of the paid workers in England provided an incentive for business owners to invest in a cheaper, far more efficient source of energy. Now, you might ask, why didn't France or another nation also enter the Industrial Revolution? That was because the British Parliament did not centralize and limit scientific development to a certain few, like what France did with their Académie des Sciences, in which the monarch controls what gets published or censored, but instead the parliament allowed everybody to commit to technological advancement motivated by the potential accumulation of capital. And because of that, inventions such as the water frame in 1771, which provided a mechanical method of weaving textile with a circular motion, and James Watt's first industry-appropriate steam engine that used steam, was able to produce a constant circular motion. Circular motion? Damn it! And soon the first cotton mills powered by steam engines arrived, skyrocketing the production of textile and further stimulating England's international trade. Alas, with the invention of the cotton mills, Britain passed the requirements of the Industrial Revolution, the use of a new energy source, and mass production. But another question arises. Why was the steam engine so cheap, especially since it was extremely inefficient and required a massive amount of coal? The reason for this is very circular. You'll see. The main reason for that was coal. With the invention of the steam engine, miners were able to excavate deeper mine shafts that was previously flooded. During the 1700s, the deepest mines were about 300 feet, and by the 1820s, they were about 900 feet deep, which was only possible due to the steam engines pumping out the water out of the flooded mines. With new mines that are deeper, coal output went from 5 million tons in 1750 to 23 million tons in 1830. Another thing during the Industrial Revolution was the production of steel, a lighter and stronger metal than iron. And incidentally, steel production required coal, and with the abundance of cheap coal in England kept steel cheap. And do you know what steam engines are made of? Steel. Steel and the steam engine also allowed the vast expansion of railroads. Despite the steam engine, manpower were still required. It would take another 150 years until fully automated factories. 1840s England had around 2,209 kilometers of railroads, while its main competitor France had about 496 kilometers. Railroads allowed transportation of people into industrialized areas at immense speed. 1850s steam trains are able to travel at speeds of 125 kilometers, while earlier forms of transportation, the coach wagon, were able to travel at speeds of 1 mile per hour. And by 1850s, over 50% of the people migrated to cities to work in steam engine factories, and all of them are buying cheap textile made by steam engines. So in conclusion, steam engines kept coal cheap, which in turn made steam engines economically viable, allowing more efficient factories to mass produce goods at a cheap price. Cheap coal allowed the production of cheap steel to produce more steam engines at a cheaper price, and also allowed vast expansion of railroads for workers to operate steam engines and for them to buy cheap goods manufactured by steam engines. So with sadness in my heart, I feel the best thing I could do is end it all